The rain had stopped 3 days ago, but Marcus still heard it. Every night when he closed his eyes, the sound came back to him. Drops hitting the roof of the old barn where he used to sleep. That was before everything changed. Before the fire. Before his father left. Before the town decided he was too much trouble to keep around. Now Marcus lived in a small room above the bakery on Maple Street. Mrs. Chen owned the place. She was a short woman with gray hair pulled back tight and hands that never stopped moving. She kneaded bread at 4 in the morning, sold it by 7, and cleaned until 8 at night. She never smiled much, but she gave Marcus the room when nobody else would. The deal was simple. Marcus worked. He carried flour sacks from the storage room. He swept the floors. He washed the big metal pans that came out of the ovens covered in grease and burnt sugar. In exchange, he got the room and 1 meal a day. Mrs. Chen never asked him about his past. Marcus liked that about her. On this particular morning, Marcus woke to the smell of cinnamon. He sat up in bed and rubbed his eyes. The room was small, just a bed, a wooden chair, and a window that looked out over the street. Through the thin walls, he could hear Mrs. Chen moving around downstairs. The ovens were already going. He got dressed quickly. The same jeans he wore every day, a gray shirt with a small hole near the collar. Shoes that were getting too small but still worked. He was 15 years old and tall for his age. People always thought he was older. That used to help when he needed to get things done. Now it just made him feel tired. Marcus went down the narrow stairs. The bakery smelled like heaven. Bread baking, cinnamon rolls cooling, something with chocolate that made his stomach growl. But he knew better than to take anything without asking. Mrs. Chen kept track of everything. She was at the counter counting money from yesterday. She looked up when he came in. "Good, you are here. The delivery truck comes today. Big order, you help unload." Marcus nodded. "What time?" 9 o'clock, maybe 10. They are never on time." She went back to counting. "You eat first, then sweep the front. Someone spilled coffee yesterday. It is sticky." He grabbed a roll from the day-old basket. Mrs. Chen let him have those. Nobody bought bread that was a day old anyway. He ate standing up, watching through the front window as the town started to wake up. Millbrook was not a big place. Maybe 5,000 people. Everyone knew everyone, which meant everyone knew about Marcus too. They knew his father drank. They knew the barn burned down last year with 3 horses inside. They knew Marcus had been there. They knew he ran. The official story said it was an electrical problem, old wiring, bad luck. But Marcus saw the looks people gave him. They wondered. And wondering was almost as bad as knowing. He finished the roll and found the broom. The front of the bakery had 3 small tables where people could sit and eat. The floor was old wood, scratched and worn but clean. Mrs. Chen insisted on clean. Marcus swept slowly, getting into the corners, moving the chairs to get underneath. The bell above the door rang. A woman came in. She was maybe 40 with blonde hair and a tight smile. Marcus recognized her. Mrs. Patterson. She lived on the good side of town in one of those houses with a big front yard and a fence painted white. "Good morning," she said to Mrs. Chen. Then she saw Marcus and her smile got smaller. "Oh, hello, Marcus." "Morning," he said quietly. He kept sweeping. Mrs. Patterson ordered 2 loaves of wheat bread and a dozen cookies. While Mrs. Chen wrapped everything up, the woman kept glancing at Marcus. He could feel her eyes on him, judging, deciding he was trouble. Deciding her kids should stay away from him. When she left, Marcus let out a breath he did not know he was holding. "Ignore her," Mrs. Chen said. She was wiping down the counter. "People like that, they need someone to look down on, makes them feel better about themselves." Marcus did not say anything. He just kept sweeping. The morning passed slowly. A few more customers came in. Most of them ignored Marcus. Some gave him those looks. By 9:30, he was watching for the delivery truck. It finally showed up at 9:45. The driver was a big man named Ray. He had a gray beard and arms covered in faded tattoos. He backed the truck up to the side door and opened it up. "Got a lot today," Ray said. "Hope you ate your breakfast, kid." The truck was packed. 50-pound bags of flour, sugar in bulk, boxes of chocolate chips, bags of yeast, containers of vanilla extract. Marcus started hauling it all into the storage room. His back started hurting after the first 20 minutes, but he did not stop. This was the job. This was how he earned his room. Ray helped, which made it go faster. They worked without talking much, just the sound of bags hitting the floor, boxes scraping, their breathing getting heavier. "You doing okay here?" Ray asked after a while. "With Mrs. Chen, I mean," Marcus shrugged. "It's fine. She's tough, but she's fair. That counts for something." Yeah, they kept working. By the time they finished, Marcus's shirt was soaked with sweat and his arms felt like rubber. Ray climbed back in his truck. "See you next week, kid." Marcus watched him drive away. Then he went inside and drank 3 glasses of water straight from the tap. Mrs. Chen was busy with a customer, so he started organizing the storage room. Everything had its place. Flour on the left, sugar on the right, everything else in between. He was moving bags around when he heard raised voices from the front. He walked quietly to the doorway and looked out. Mrs. Chen was standing very straight, her arms crossed. Across the counter was a man Marcus had seen before, Mr. Donnelly. He owned the hardware store down the street. He was red in the face and pointing his finger. "I'm telling you, someone has been breaking into stores at night. 3 places hit in the last 2 weeks. And you think this is my business, how?" Mrs. Chen's voice was cold. "I'm saying maybe you should keep a closer eye on who you got working for you." Marcus's stomach dropped. He knew what Donnelly meant, what he was really saying. "You need to leave," Mrs. Chen said. Her voice was quiet now but hard as stone. "Right now. I'm just trying to look out for the neighborhood. We all know about that fire. We all know. Out." Mrs. Chen pointed to the door. "Do not come back." Donnelly looked like he wanted to say more, but something in Mrs. Chen's face stopped him. He turned and walked out, letting the door slam behind him. Marcus stepped back into the storage room. His heart was pounding. His hands were shaking. He sat down on a bag of flour and put his head in his hands. After a few minutes he heard footsteps. Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway. "You heard that," she said. It was not a question. "Yes." She sighed and leaned against the doorframe. "People are stupid. They need someone to blame for everything bad that happens." "Maybe he's right, though," Marcus said quietly. "Maybe I should leave, go somewhere else." "Did you break into those stores?" "No." "Then you stay, you work hard, you do your job, that is all that matters." She turned to go back to the front, then stopped. "Your father, he was not a good man, but you are not your father, remember that." Marcus did not know what to say to that. Mrs. Chen did not wait for an answer anyway. She went back to her work, leaving him alone in the storage room. The rest of the day was quiet. Marcus did his jobs. He did not go out to the front unless he had to. At 6 o'clock, Mrs. Chen closed the shop. She gave him a bowl of soup and 2 rolls for dinner. "Eat, then rest. Tomorrow we have the weekend rush." Marcus took the food up to his room. He sat by the window and ate slowly, watching the street below. People walked by, normal people with normal lives, families, friends, people who belonged somewhere. He thought about what Donnelly had said about the break-ins. Part of him wanted to find out who was really doing it, just to prove it was not him. But another part knew it would not matter. People had already decided. They needed someone to blame, and he was easy. That night Marcus could not sleep. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the old building settle and creak. Around midnight he got up and looked out the window. The street was empty. Most of the stores were dark. But down near the corner he saw something move. A shadow, quick and low, near the door of the post office. Marcus pressed closer to the window. The shadow moved again. It was a person, definitely. They were doing something to the door. After a minute the door opened and the person slipped inside. His first thought was to wake up Mrs. Chen. His second thought was that she would tell him to stay out of it. His third thought was that if another place got robbed tonight, everyone would blame him in the morning. He made a decision he probably should not have made. He pulled on his shoes, grabbed his jacket, and went downstairs as quietly as he could. The bakery was dark. He unlocked the side door and stepped out into the night. The air was cold. Marcus pulled his jacket tight and walked toward the post office. He stayed in the shadows, moving carefully. When he got closer, he could see the door was open just a crack. He should call the police. He knew that. But if he called them, they would find him here and they would ask questions, and even if he told the truth, some people would not believe him. Marcus crept up to the door. He could hear sounds inside, someone moving around, the scrape of something being dragged. He pushed the door open a little more and looked in. The inside of the post office was lit only by moonlight coming through the windows. He could see the counter, the rows of mailboxes on the wall, the door to the back room. and he could see a person dressed in dark clothes going through the drawer behind the counter. Marcus's foot hit something. A metal trash can. It made a loud clang. The person spun around. For a second they just stared at each other. Then the person ran, not toward Marcus but toward the back of the building. Marcus did not think. He just moved. He ran after them through the counter area toward the back room. The person was fast, but Marcus was faster. His long legs covered ground quickly. They burst out the back door into an alley. The person turned left, heading for the street. Marcus pushed harder, closing the distance. He reached out and grabbed the back of their jacket. They both went down, hitting the pavement hard. Marcus felt his knee scrape. The other person kicked, trying to get free. They were smaller than him, but strong. "Stop," Marcus yelled. "Just stop." The person twisted and their hood fell back. Marcus froze. It was a girl, maybe his age, maybe a little younger. Short dark hair, eyes wide with fear and anger. "Let me go," she hissed. "You're the one robbing places," Marcus said. "Everyone thinks it's me." "I don't care what everyone thinks, let go." She kicked again, this time catching him in the shin. Marcus grunted but held on. "I'm calling the police." "No, you're not." She stopped struggling and looked at him, really looked at him. "You're the kid from the bakery, the one everyone talks about." "Yeah. Then you know what cops in a town like this are like. They'll blame you anyway. You think they'll believe you caught me, or will they think we're working together?" Marcus had not thought of that, but she was right. He could already imagine it. Him and this girl, both outsiders, both in trouble. The town would love that story. "So what am I supposed to do?" he asked. "Let you go and keep getting blamed." "I'll leave town," she said quickly. "Tonight I'll go and the robberies will stop and everyone will forget about it." "Where will you go?" She looked away. "I don't know. Somewhere, it doesn't matter." Marcus sat back, still holding her jacket but loosening his grip. "Why are you doing this, robbing places?" "I need money." "For what?" "That's not your business." They sat there in the alley, both breathing hard, both trying to figure out what to do next. Marcus could hear a car drive by on the street, normal life just a block away. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Sky." "I'm Marcus." "I know who you are. Everyone knows who you are." "Great." He let go of her jacket and stood up. His knee was bleeding through his jeans. "Look, I don't want to call the cops, but I can't keep getting blamed for stuff I didn't do." Sky got up too. She brushed dirt off her clothes. "Like I said, I'll leave. Problem solved." "Where are you staying now?" "Why do you care?" Marcus did not have a good answer for that. He should not care. This girl had been making his life harder. But something about the way she looked, the way she talked, reminded him of himself. Someone trying to survive, someone alone. "Are you hungry?" he asked. She blinked. "What?" "I asked if you're hungry, I can get you some food." "Is this a trick?" "No, just answer the question." Sky studied his face, trying to decide if she could trust him. Finally, she nodded. "Yeah, I'm hungry. Come on." He started walking back toward the bakery. After a moment, he heard her following. They walked in silence, staying in the shadows. When they got to the side door, Marcus unlocked it and motioned for her to go in. The bakery was still dark. Marcus did not turn on any lights. He knew where everything was. He found the day-old basket and grabbed 4 rolls, some cookies, and a couple of pastries Mrs. Chen had made that afternoon. Sky stood by the door, ready to run if she needed to. Marcus put all the food in a paper bag. "Here," he said, holding it out. She took it slowly, like she expected it to be snatched back. "Why are you helping me?" "I don't know, maybe because I know what it's like when everyone thinks the worst of you." She looked down at the bag. "Thanks. There's a shelter 2 towns over in Riverside. They help people, give them food, a place to stay, no questions asked." "How do you know about it?" "I stayed there for a while after my dad left, before Mrs. Chen gave me this job." Sky nodded. She turned to leave, then stopped. "I'm sorry about people blaming you. That wasn't fair." "Life's not fair," Marcus said. "But you should still stop stealing, find a better way." "I'll try." She slipped out the door and disappeared into the darkness. Marcus stood there for a while, holding the door open, feeling the cold night air. Then he closed it, locked it, and went back upstairs. He lay in bed thinking about what had just happened. He had let her go. He could have called the police, could have made sure everyone knew he was not the thief, but he did not. Maybe that made him stupid. Or maybe it just made him someone who understood what it was like to need help. The next morning, Marcus woke up tired. His knee still hurt from hitting the pavement. He went downstairs and started his work like always. Mrs. Chen looked at him but did not say anything about the limp. Around 10 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. Marcus looked up from mopping the floor and saw 2 police officers standing outside. His heart started racing. Mrs. Chen opened the door. "Can I help you?" "Morning, ma'am. We're investigating the break-in at the post office last night. We're talking to everyone in the area." "I see. I did not hear anything." "What about your employee?" One of the officers looked at Marcus. "You hear anything last night, son?" Marcus's mouth went dry. He could tell them about Sky, could clear his name right now. But then she would get caught. She would go to jail or juvenile detention or wherever they sent kids who stole things. "No, sir," he said. "I was asleep." The officer did not look convinced, but he could not prove anything. "All right, you see or hear anything suspicious, you let us know." "Of course," Mrs. Chen said. She closed the door after they left. Marcus went back to mopping, but his hands were shaking. Mrs. Chen walked over and stood in front of him. "You are a terrible liar," she said quietly. "I don't know what you mean." "You know something about last night." Marcus kept his eyes on the floor. "I didn't do anything wrong." Mrs. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. "I believe you, but be careful, Marcus. This town is not kind to people like us. People like us, people who do not fit in, people they do not understand." She patted his shoulder once, awkward and brief. "Finish the floor, then help me with the afternoon baking." The day passed. Nobody else came asking questions. Marcus worked hard, trying not to think about Sky or the police or what would happen if she got caught, and told them he had let her go. That evening, as he was cleaning up, Mrs. Chen called him to the counter. She had a newspaper spread out in front of her. "Look at this," she said. It was a small article in the local section. Someone had returned money to 3 different businesses early that morning, left it in envelopes under their doors. Not all the money that was stolen, but some of it. Enough to make a difference. "That's good," Marcus said carefully. Mrs. Chen folded the newspaper. "Very good. Maybe whoever was stealing realized their mistake. Maybe they're trying to make things right." She looked at him with those sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. Marcus did not say anything. "You have a good heart," Mrs. Chen said finally. "But in this world, a good heart can get you in trouble. Remember that." "Yes, ma'am." That night, Marcus stood at his window and looked out at the street. He wondered where Sky was, if she had made it to Riverside, if she was safe. He would probably never know. But for the first time in a long time, he felt like maybe he had done something that mattered, not for himself but for someone else. Someone who needed help the way he had needed help once. The rain started again, soft at first, then harder. Marcus listened to it hit the roof, hit the street, wash everything clean. Tomorrow would be another day of work. Another day of people looking at him sideways. Another day of being the kid everyone whispered about. But maybe that was okay. Maybe he could live with that. He thought about his father wherever he was, about the fire that changed everything, about all the things people thought they knew about him. Mrs. Chen was right. He was not his father. He was just Marcus. And that was enough. 2 weeks passed. The break-in stopped completely. The police closed their investigation, calling it unsolved. Mr. Donnelly stopped coming to the bakery, which suited Marcus just fine. Life went back to normal, or as normal as it got in a small town where everyone knew your business. Then one Saturday morning, Marcus was sweeping the front when the bell rang. He looked up and froze. It was Sky. She looked different, cleaner. Her hair was brushed. She wore clothes that actually fit. And she was not alone. A woman stood next to her. She was maybe 50, with kind eyes and a warm smile. "Hi," Sky said. She sounded nervous. "Hi," Marcus said back. The woman stepped forward. "You must be Marcus. Sky told me about you. I'm Sarah. I run the shelter in Riverside." Marcus did not know what to say. He looked at Sky, trying to figure out why she was here. "I wanted to thank you," Sky said, "for helping me that night, for not turning me in. You didn't have to come back." "I know, but I wanted you to know I'm doing better. Sarah is helping me get into school, get my life straight." Sarah smiled. "Sky has been staying with us for 2 weeks now. She's been doing really well, working hard, following the rules." Mrs. Chen came out from the back. She looked at Sky, then at Marcus, then at Sarah. Marcus could see her putting pieces together in her head. "Would you like some cookies?" Mrs. Chen asked. "Fresh this morning." They sat at one of the small tables. Mrs. Chen brought out cookies and coffee for Sarah, milk for Sky and Marcus. They talked for a while. Sarah told them about the shelter, about the programs they had to help young people. Sky talked about the classes she was taking, the job she was hoping to get. "Marcus gave me good advice," Sky said. "He told me to find a better way, so I did." After they left, Marcus stood at the window and watched them walk down the street. Sky looked back once and waved. He waved back. Mrs. Chen came and stood next to him. "You did a good thing," she said quietly. "Maybe. Not maybe. Definitely." She went back to work, leaving him at the window. Marcus thought about that night in the alley, about the choice he made, about how one decision can change everything, not just for yourself but for someone else too. The town still talked about him. People still gave him looks. Mr. Donnelly still walked on the other side of the street when he saw Marcus coming, but it mattered a little less now, because Marcus knew something they did not know. He knew he had helped someone. He knew he was more than what they thought he was. That night the rain came again. Marcus lay in bed and listened to it, but this time it did not sound like the barn burning. It did not sound like everything falling apart. It just sounded like rain, clean and simple and new. He closed his eyes and went to sleep. Tomorrow would be another day at the bakery, another day of work, another day of being Marcus, and that was enough. It was more than enough. It was everything. The boat was sinking. Not all at once, but slowly. The kind of slow that gave you time to think about everything you had done wrong in your life. Elena sat in the middle of it, water up to her ankles, and laughed. Her brother Diego looked at her like she had lost her mind. Maybe she had. 3 days ago she had a plan, a good plan. Now she was in a stolen fishing boat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with no idea where land was and a brother who would not stop complaining. "This is your fault," Diego said. He was bailing water with a plastic container that used to hold motor oil. It was not helping much. "I told you this was a bad idea." "You say that about everything," Elena replied. She was 22 years old and tired of people telling her what she could and could not do, especially Diego. He was older by 3 years but acted like it was 30. "Because everything you do is a bad idea. Normal people do not steal boats. I borrowed it. Without asking. That is called stealing." Elena did not answer. She was looking at the horizon trying to see something, anything, but there was just water. Blue water everywhere going on forever. They had left the harbor at midnight. Elena knew the old man who owned this boat. He kept it tied up at the dock and hardly ever used it anymore. His knees were bad. His eyes were worse. The boat just sat there, rotting slowly in the salt air. She had thought he would not even notice it was gone for a few days. The plan had been simple. Take the boat up the coast. Find the island her grandmother had told her about. The one with the old house where her mother grew up. The one nobody in the family talked about anymore. Get answers to questions that had been eating at her for years. Then bring the boat back before anyone knew it was gone. But the engine had died 6 hours in. And then the storm came. And now they were drifting and the boat was taking on water and Diego would not shut up about how stupid she was. "We are going to die out here," Diego said, "and it will be your fault." "We are not going to die." "How do you know?" "Because I refuse to die doing something this stupid. It would be embarrassing." Diego stopped bailing and looked at her. Water sloshed around their feet. The boat creaked and groaned. Somewhere underneath them the ocean was trying to get in. "You are crazy," he said, but he said it softer this time, almost like he was remembering why he came with her in the first place. Elena had not asked him to come. She had been planning to go alone, but Diego had found out somehow. Maybe he followed her. Maybe he heard her sneaking around. It did not matter. He showed up at the dock right as she was untying the ropes and he got in the boat without saying a word. That was the thing about Diego. He complained about everything she did, but he always showed up when it mattered. The sun was getting higher now. It was hot. Elena could feel her skin starting to burn. They had no food. No water. No radio because the old man never bothered to install one. Just a boat that was falling apart and an ocean that did not care if they lived or died. "Tell me again why we are doing this," Diego said. He had given up on bailing. It was pointless anyway. "You know why." "I want to hear you say it." Elena sighed. "Because Mom never told us the truth about where she came from. Because every time I asked about her family, she changed the subject. Because Grandma mentioned that island once before she died and Mom got so angry she did not speak to her for a month. So you decided to steal a boat and risk our lives to find a house that might not even exist anymore." "Yes, you are definitely crazy." They sat in silence for a while. The boat kept creaking. The water kept rising. Elena tried not to think about sharks, or how far they might be from land, or what their mother would say if they never came back. Their mother, Rosa. She worked 3 jobs to keep them fed after their father left. She never complained, never asked for help, never talked about her past or her family or anything that happened before she moved to the city and started over. Alina used to think it was because the memories were too painful. Now she thought it was because her mother was hiding something. "Do you think she would be mad?" Alina asked. "If she knew we were out here," Diego snorted. "Mad, she would kill us, if the ocean does not do it first." "I mean about trying to find the island, about wanting to know the truth." Diego was quiet for a moment. He looked out at the water. "I think she would understand, even if she did not want to admit it." The boat lurched suddenly. They both grabbed the sides to keep from falling. More water rushed in from somewhere. The sinking was getting faster. "We need to do something," Diego said. His voice was different now, scared. Alina looked around. There was not much in the boat, some old ropes, a tackle box full of rusty hooks, a tarp that was more holes than fabric, and a bright orange life vest stuffed under the front seat. "There is only one vest," she said. "You take it." "No, you take it." "Alina, I am not arguing about this." "Good, because I am older and I say you take the vest." "You are not older, I am older. By 3 years, so what?" "So I am the big brother, I'm supposed to take care of you." Alina felt something tight in her chest. Diego drove her crazy most of the time. He was careful when she wanted to take risks. He was quiet when she wanted to shout. He followed rules she wanted to break, but he was here. He had always been here. "We will take turns," she said. 1 hour each. Before Diego could argue, something bumped the boat. They both froze. "What was that?" Diego whispered. It bumped again, harder this time. Alina looked over the side. The water was so clear she could see down about 20 feet. And moving underneath them was something big, something gray and smooth. "Shark!" Diego's voice was very small. "I do not think so." Alina watched it circle. "I think it is a dolphin." "Are you sure?" "No," the creature surfaced. It was a dolphin, a big one. It made a clicking sound and looked at them with one dark eye. Then it swam around to the back of the boat. "What is it doing?" Diego asked. Alina did not know. She watched as the dolphin disappeared under the water again. Then she felt the boat move. Not sinking movement, forward movement. "It is pushing us," she said. "What?" "The dolphin, it is pushing the boat." Diego crawled to the back and looked over. The dolphin was there, using its nose to push against the stern. The boat moved slowly through the water. "That is impossible," Diego said, but it was happening. The dolphin pushed them for a few minutes, then swam away. Alina thought it was gone, but then 2 more appeared, then 3 more. Soon there were maybe 10 dolphins around the boat, all clicking and whistling to each other. "I do not understand," Diego said. "Why are they helping us?" "Maybe they are not helping, maybe they are just playing." But the dolphins kept pushing. They seemed to be taking turns, working together to move the boat in a specific direction. Alina had heard stories about dolphins helping people. She had never believed them. Now she was living one. The sun climbed higher. The boat kept sinking, but slower now. The dolphins kept pushing. Alina and Diego watched in silence, too amazed to speak. After what felt like hours, Diego pointed. "Look." In the distance there was something, a dark line on the horizon, land. "Is that it?" Alina asked. "The island. I do not know, but it is something." The dolphins pushed harder, moving faster. The land got closer. Alina could see trees now, rocks, a small beach. The boat was almost completely full of water, sitting so low that waves washed over the sides. When they were maybe 100 feet from shore, the dolphins stopped pushing. They circled the boat one last time, clicking and whistling. Then they swam away, disappearing into the deep water. "We need to swim," Alina said. She grabbed the life vest and handed it to Diego. "Put it on." "Alina, just put it on. I'm a better swimmer than you." That was true. Diego knew it. He put on the vest without arguing. They both slipped over the side into the water. It was cold, colder than Alina expected. She started swimming toward shore and Diego followed. The beach was small and covered in smooth black rocks. Alina dragged herself out of the water and lay on her back, breathing hard. Diego collapsed next to her. For a long time they just lay there, staring up at the sky. "We are alive," Diego said. "Yes, we should be dead, but we are not. Those dolphins saved us." "I know." Diego started laughing. It was a crazy sound, half relief and half disbelief. Alina started laughing too. They laughed until their stomachs hurt, lying on the rocks in their wet clothes on an island they did not know, alive when they should have been dead. When the laughter finally stopped, Alina sat up and looked around. The island was small. Thick jungle grew almost down to the water. The rocks were volcanic, black and sharp, but it was land, it was solid, it was safe. "Now what?" Diego asked. "Now we find water. Then we figure out where we are." They walked along the beach until they found a stream running down from the jungle. The water was clear and cold. They drank until their stomachs ached. Then they followed the stream inland. The jungle was thick and humid. Vines hung from trees. Birds called out from branches they could not see. Alina pushed through the undergrowth looking for any sign of people, any sign that this was the island from her grandmother's stories. After maybe an hour of walking, they found a path. It was old and overgrown, but definitely a path. Someone had cleared it once. Someone had walked here. "We should follow it," Alina said, "or we should go back to the beach and wait for rescue." "What rescue? Nobody knows we are here. Eventually someone will come looking. Eventually we will be dead from hunger or thirst or something else. Come on." The path led uphill. It twisted and turned through the jungle, getting steeper. Alina's legs burned. Her wet clothes chafed against her skin. But she kept going. Then the jungle opened up. They stepped into a clearing, and there in the middle of it was a house. It was old. The wood was gray and rotting in places. The roof had holes. Vines grew up the walls and through the windows, but it was still standing, still recognizable as the place where people once lived. Alina walked toward it slowly, her heart pounding. This was it. This had to be it. The house her mother grew up in. The place nobody talked about. "Alina, wait," Diego said. "Should be careful, the floor might not be safe." But Alina was not listening. She climbed the steps to the porch. Some of them cracked under her weight. She pushed open the front door. It swung inward with a long squeal. Inside, everything was covered in dust and leaves, but she could see furniture, a table, chairs, shelves on the walls, pictures in frames so dirty she could not make out the faces. Diego came in behind her. "This is it," he said quietly. "This is the place." Alina walked to the shelves. She picked up one of the picture frames and wiped the glass with her sleeve. A family stared back at her, a man and a woman and 3 children. The woman looked familiar. She had her mother's eyes. "Grandma," Alina whispered. Diego came and looked. "And those must be her children." Alina studied the picture. 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. The girl was maybe 10 years old. She stood between her brothers with a serious expression, her arms crossed. "That is Mom," Alina said. "In the middle." They looked through more pictures, birthday parties, fishing trips, a wedding, the house when it was new with fresh paint and flowers growing in pots on the porch. "They looked happy," Diego said. "They did." "So what happened?" That was the question. Alina set down the pictures and looked around the house. There had to be more, some clue about why her mother left, why she never came back, why she never talked about this place. They searched the house slowly. Most of the rooms were empty. Anything valuable had been taken long ago. But in what must have been the bedroom, Alina found a trunk pushed into the corner. It was locked with a rusty padlock. "Help me with this," she said. Diego found a rock outside. He smashed the lock until it broke. The trunk opened with a groan. Inside were papers, letters, old photographs, and a journal with a leather cover so worn it was almost falling apart. Alina picked up the journal carefully. The first page had a name written in fading ink. Rosa Martinez, her mother. "She kept a diary," Alina said. "Should we read it?" Alina looked at her brother. Part of her said no, this was private. These were her mother's thoughts, but another part, the part that had brought them all the way out here, said yes. She opened to a random page and read. "Papa is getting worse. He drinks more every day. Mama tries to hide it, but we all know. Last night he broke 3 plates and screamed at us for an hour about nothing. I hate it here. I hate this island. As soon as I am old enough, I am leaving and never coming back." Alina flipped to another page. "My brothers left today. They took the boat and went to the mainland to find work. They promised to send money. They promised to come back, but I know they will not. Who would come back to this? Papa barely remembers our names. Mama cries all the time. This house is falling apart. I am 16 years old and I feel like I am drowning." Alina read more. Page after page of pain and fear and anger. Her mother writing about a father who destroyed himself with alcohol, about brothers who abandoned her, about feeling trapped on an island with no way out. The last entry was dated 20 years ago. "I am leaving tomorrow. I saved enough money from cleaning fish at the market. I will take the ferry to the city and never look back. Mama begged me to stay, but I cannot. If I stay here, I will die. Maybe not physically, but inside. I will become like Papa, empty and angry. Or like Mama, sad and broken. I have to save myself, even if it means leaving everything behind. Alina closed the journal. Her hands were shaking. She ran away, Diego said softly. She was not hiding something bad she did. She was running from something bad that was done to her. Alina felt tears on her face. All this time she thought her mother was keeping secrets because she was ashamed of something. But the secret was just survival. The secret was choosing life over a place that was killing her. We should not have come here, Alina said. This was wrong, I was wrong. No, Diego put his hand on her shoulder. You needed to know, we both did. But now I feel worse. Mom built a whole life for us. She worked so hard to give us everything she never had, and I threw it in her face by coming here. You did not throw anything. You wanted to understand her. That is not wrong. Alina wiped her eyes. She looked around the broken house, the rotting furniture, the pictures of people who tried to be happy in a place that would not let them be. I want to go home, she said. Okay, but first we need to figure out how to get off this island. They left the house and walked back down to the beach. The sun was starting to set. Their stolen boat was nowhere to be seen. It had probably sunk completely and drifted away. We need to build a fire, Diego said. A big one. Maybe someone will see the smoke. They gathered driftwood from the beach and dry branches from the jungle. Diego, who complained about everything but somehow knew how to do everything, built a fire pit with rocks. He used dry grass as tinder and spun a stick against a piece of wood until smoke appeared. Alina had never been so happy to see fire. They kept it burning as night fell. The stars came out, more stars than Alina had ever seen in the city. Lay on her back and watched them, feeling small and stupid and grateful to be alive. Diego, yeah, thank you for coming with me, even though it was stupid. It was stupid, he agreed, but I would do it again. Really? Someone has to keep you from getting killed. Alina smiled in the darkness. I am sorry for all of this. I know. They fell asleep by the fire, too tired to stay awake. Alina dreamed of dolphins and her mother and a house slowly being eaten by the jungle. She woke to voices. It was early morning. The fire had burned down to embers, and standing on the beach were 3 people in uniforms, Coast Guard. Diego was already awake, talking to them. Alina sat up, rubbing her eyes. Are you Alina Martinez? One of the officers asked. Yes. Your mother filed a missing persons report. We have been searching for you for 2 days. 2 days. It felt like a lifetime. They took Alina and Diego to their boat. It was big and clean and had working engines and a radio and everything their stolen boat did not have. The officer said the old man who owned the fishing boat had called the police when he noticed it was gone. Their mother had put the pieces together. Is she angry? Alina asked. The officer smiled. She is terrified, but you can ask her yourself soon. The trip back to the mainland took 3 hours. When they pulled into the harbor, Alina saw her mother standing on the dock. Rosa was small and thin, her hair pulled back, her face creased with worry. When she saw them, she started crying. Alina and Diego climbed onto the dock. Rosa grabbed them both and held on like she would never let go. I thought you were dead, she said. I thought I lost you. I am sorry, Mama, Alina said. I am so sorry. Rosa pulled back and looked at her daughter. Why did you do this? Alina could have lied, could have said it was an accident, but she owed her mother the truth. I wanted to find the island, the one where you grew up. Rosa's face went white. You found it? Yes. Did you go to the house? Yes. Rosa sat down on a wooden crate like her legs would not hold her anymore. Diego sat next to her. Alina knelt in front of them both. I found your journal, Alina said quietly. I read it. I know about Papa, about your brothers, about why you left. Rosa covered her face with her hands. For a long moment she did not speak. Then she looked up and her eyes were wet but clear. I never wanted you to know about that place, about that life. I wanted you to have something better. You gave us something better, Mama. You gave us everything. But you still needed to know where you came from. I did, but I understand now why you did not want to talk about it. Rosa reached out and touched Alina's face. That island, that house, those memories, they are not who I am. I am who I chose to become. I am your mother. That is all that matters. But it is part of you, Alina said. The bad parts and the good parts, they made you who you are, and we wanted to understand. Rosa looked at Diego. You too. I went to make sure she did not die, Diego said. But yes, I wanted to know too. Rosa stood up and pulled them both close again. No more stealing boats, she said. No more stealing boats, Alina promised. And no more running away to find answers. If you have questions, you ask me. Even if the answers are hard. Okay. They walked home together through the city streets. The sun was fully up now. The market was opening, people were starting their days, everything looked normal, but Alina felt different, like something inside her had shifted and settled into place. That night after they had eaten and showered and slept for a few hours, Rosa made tea and sat them down at the kitchen table. "You want to know about the island," she said, "so I will tell you." And she did. She talked for hours. About her father who had been kind before the drinking took him, about her mother who loved them all but could not save them, about her brothers who promised to come back but never did, about the day she left and the guilt that followed her for years. "Do you ever think about going back?" Alina asked. "Sometimes, but not to live, just to remember, to make peace with it all. The house is still there, falling apart, but there. Good, let it fall, let the jungle take it. That life is over." But Rosa kept talking. She told them good memories too. Learning to swim in the ocean, climbing trees with her brothers, her mother's cooking, the way the island looked at sunset. "It was not all bad," Rosa said. "I want you to know that. There was beauty there too. I just could not see it when I was drowning in the bad." Alina understood. She had seen the pictures, the smiling faces, the birthday parties. Life was never just one thing. It was complicated, mixed, beautiful and terrible at the same time. Over the next few weeks, things slowly went back to normal. The old man decided not to press charges when he heard the whole story. He said his boat was junk anyway and probably would have sunk even if they had not taken it. The Coast Guard gave them a lecture about water safety. Their mother made them volunteer at the community center every weekend for 3 months. Alina and Diego did not mind. They spent the time teaching kids how to swim, which seemed fitting. One Saturday, Rosa came to pick them up from the community center. She had something in her hand, an envelope. "What is that?" Alina asked. "Plane tickets," Rosa said, "for all 3 of us." "To where?" "The island. I called the Coast Guard and asked them how to get there legally. There is a ferry that runs once a month. We are going next week." Alina stared at her mother. "Are you sure?" "I am sure. You risked your lives to find that place. The least I can do is go back with you, show you the good parts I remember, say goodbye properly." Diego smiled. "No stolen boats this time. No stolen boats." They went the following week. The ferry was old but safe. It took 6 hours. When they got to the island, Rosa cried, but they were good tears, tears of closure. They walked to the house together. Rosa showed them where she played as a child, where her mother planted vegetables, where her father kept his tools before he stopped caring about fixing things. They did not stay long, just long enough to take a few pictures, to collect some shells from the beach, to stand together and acknowledge that this place was part of their story, even if it was not their home. On the ferry ride back, Alina sat next to her mother and watched the island disappear behind them. "Thank you," she said, "for taking us back. Thank you for reminding me that running away from the past does not make it go away. Sometimes you have to turn around and face it, even when it is scary, especially when it is scary." Alina thought about the sinking boat, the dolphins, the journal, all the ways things could have gone wrong but somehow went right. "I learned something," she said. "What is that?" "That you can survive more than you think you can, and that family shows up even when things are stupid and dangerous." Rosa laughed. "Your brother complained the whole time, I bet. The entire time. But he still went with you." "He did." Rosa squeezed her hand. "That is what family does. We show up. We complain, but we show up." The city lights came into view as the sun set behind them. Alina felt Diego sit down on her other side. They sat together in silence, watching the water and the sky turn orange and pink and purple. Tomorrow, Alina would go back to her regular life, her job at the restaurant, her classes at night school, her tiny apartment she shared with 2 roommates. It was not much, but it was hers. She had earned it, just like her mother earned everything she had. But tonight, sitting between her brother and her mother on a ferry crossing the ocean, Alina felt rich. Rich in the ways that mattered, rich in the stories she carried, rich in the love that surrounded her, even when she did not deserve it. The boat reached the harbor. They walked off together onto solid ground toward home. And Alina never stole another boat again.